So hello. Oh, my time's up. Sorry. It's great to be here. I am so happy. I love Amsterdam, and thank you, Richard, so much for inviting me. This is my kind of audience. So as you know, in the world, everything is fine. This is the subway in New York after the last hurricane. And I believe we're in this tipping point, right? That the impact of humans on the natural world is in an unsustainable state. So we've moved past the point of sustainability to instability. And how do we have any impact on that? So, we've got this gap, right? So you've got the number of solutions versus the challenges that we have. That's climate change, peak oil, deforestation, population growth in China and India. And that there's this gap in between we call the ingenuity gap. So if you think of ingenuity, it's using like human creativity and innovation and potential to solve these big challenges of our time. So you can do this, which is basically what most people and politicians and leaders are doing right now. And this is, we're victims of these heuristic pathways in our brains, these orthodoxies that we use to solve big challenges. So one is the rational orthodoxy. So this is, we need to be rational about how we do things going forward. ROI, return on investment. Like, what is going to be the return if we invest in this new innovation? The creative genius. This is the belief in elites. There are these elites that will solve the problems for us. Innovation, and what I mean by this is a focus on things rather than people. So ingenuity exists within people. The war room orthodoxy. This is that there's this secret place somewhere that's going to solve stuff for us. Best practices. This is the idea that there is an efficiency to being creative and solving things. A strategic plan that we must know there must be a predictable outcome before we start. Or scale, that there's one scalable solution versus a lot of little solutions. So this is in the quadrant of business management practice. That's what it looks like. So this is the known and the certain. So that's where all those orthodoxies, predictable outcomes. And then there's this other quadrant down at the bottom we call rapid ingenuity. And this is where we need to start to solve some of these big problems. So we think of, this is my partner Greg Galley and I, and we think of ourselves as idiots, right? We're the lunatic fringe, and we like to work with lunatic fringe leaders who other people say they're idiots. You can't do that. And we've come up with this cycle of rapid ingenuity. Be bold, get out, think wrong, make stuff, bet small, and move fast. So these are principles that we use to unlock the ingenuity in individuals and organizations. So I'm going to take you through some of these and show you actually how they work. First one is be bold. And this guy in the center is the CEO of a company called SodaStream. His name's Daniel Birnbaum. And he is the most fearless leader I've ever seen. Nothing phases him. And SodaStream, if you don't know, is a company that makes a home beverage maker, right? So you can make bubbly water, you can make cola out of it, you can add juice to it. So it's really just sort of making a refreshing beverage in your kitchen. And he could have stopped with that. He could have said, I'm just going to be the leader in the home beverage maker category. And instead, he came to us and he said, how do we shift from being just a home soda maker to addressing all the single-serving bottles and cans in the world? How can we go right up against big soda and have an impact on that? So this is one of their projects where they show how many bottles and cans one family uses in 5 years. It's over 10,000 bottles and cans. And he took one of these, they call it the cage, and he put it in the airport in Atlanta, which is the headquarters of Coca-Cola. And Coke immediately sued SodaStream, this little company based in Israel. And Daniel loved it. He was like, bring it on. And he said to Coca-Cola, they said, these are ours. These are our property. You can't just put these. And he said, great, go clean up every bottle and can in the world. And Coke, dropped the lawsuit immediately. So we did a session called Be Bold with them on how do you set this big, bold challenge? What's the dent that you want to make in the universe? And see, these are some of the things we came up with. One of the problems isn't just the throwing away the bottles and cans. It's that these big soda companies are shipping what's mostly water, using the fossil fuel to ship water all over the world. I'm morbidly obese, but I usually recycle my soda. So what this is all about is that the big soda uses high fructose corn syrup in their beverages, and sometimes the cans are recycled, sometimes not. I guess we could all stop drinking soda, but then we live in a world without soda. Bummer. So what this is about is that it's still only soda, And what I love about this is that they're a for-profit company. They're doing phenomenally well, and they're also addressing an issue that has value in the world.
With SodaStream, you can save 2,000 bottles a year. If you love the bubbles, set them free. SodaStream.
So I like to show that because this ad was banned in England. So they said it denigrates the beverage industry, but it drove all the traffic to YouTube, so we got millions of hits on YouTube. Then we did another ad for the Super Bowl in the United States, which was banned from being shown, so we showed that one, and then we drove traffic to the website again for the other ad. So, good example of setting this big, bold challenge. Their stock has doubled since we started working with them. Get out. And this is based on the idea that, we sit in our studios or our offices and try to come up with new ideas, and all you can do is kind of mine the stuff that's already in the file folders in your brain. And sometimes it's as simple as just like getting out. And I'm not talking about ethnographic research. It's just about yourself getting out into an unfamiliar environment. We started working with an organization called the Legacy Foundation based in Washington, D.C. Legacy got $1 billion. There was a big lawsuit against the tobacco companies. Legacy got $1 billion to do anti-smoking commercials it's called the Truth Campaign. One of the problems with it, even though the commercials were brilliant, my partner Alex Boguski worked on some, the people that were hardest hit, this is African American and Hispanic youth in America, in inner cities do not consume advertising. They don't watch commercials, and if they did, they don't give a shit about it, right? It's so far down the list of what they care about. So how do you address smoking in these areas? And we said, you've got to go to where these people are and invent new ways to address smoking. So we took a group to Detroit, inner city Detroit. Menthol is sort of the gateway drug that actually has much higher cancer rates because it's smoother. People draw it deeper in their lungs. And so we did something called the Menth Lab. We gathered in Detroit. There were about 40 participants, both from the creative fields, from the Legacy Foundation, and community members.
Children learn best by mimicking the culture that they're in. That's where the problem is not having a good model.
If you go to the store, it's easy to purchase them because they don't ask for IDs anymore. Right. So anybody can buy them nowadays because they don't even ask me for ID anymore.
So what we did was we went into the community, listened to what was going on, and came up with these all these ideas about how to address smoking with these guys. So, it wasn't so much about smoking being bad for your health. It was that these people were being targeted by big tobacco, and that pissed them off. And so we came up with 17 amazing ideas to address in fashion, music, and gaming. This is a big piece. I think of this as kind of the creative engine of what we're doing, and I call it thinking wrong. And what this is based on is our brains are designed to, over time, hardwire, right, these super highways of thought. They're called synaptic pathways or heuristic biases, and these allow us to exist in the world. So me speaking is an example of the super highway between a thought and a vocalization, right? We don't even have to think about it. But when you think about creative solutions, we can't just follow these super highways, right? So rapid ingenuity is not about doing something the same way, about having an orthodoxy. So I founded a program in 2003, 10 years ago, called Project M. And the way it works is I take groups of young creative people, usually to distressed places like Detroit or Iceland after their collapse, or Costa Rica and rainforest. And we do projects in a relatively short period of time. And one of the things we do at the beginning is start the project in an unexpected random place. And what this does, it prevents them from solving a problem in a predictable way. And I go around the group and I say, reveal a hidden talent. And they might say, I was a tennis champion in high school, or I can juggle flaming clubs or something. And this girl, Rosanna, in the white sweater, was really into pie. And I was like, that's dumb, that's not a talent. But the group grabbed onto it, and they ended up doing this project called Free Pie, right? So they baked pies, and they had this event, and people came, and it was a big success, and they realized there's something about food that really gathers people together, has conversation that then leads to new possibilities. So after the Free Pie event, they went down to rural Alabama, where we work a lot, took over half our studio, and built this pop-up, what we called the Pie Lab. So for about $600, they built tables and pie boxes and opened up, and this is a very segregated area, right? So there's black churches and white churches and black restaurants and white restaurants. And I think because this was a neutral space, there was no pre-existing code of who could go in there. Then that was so successful, we got this space on Main Street, a little ways away, and this is the team. Brian Jones actually is in the audience. He was one of the members of that worked on renovating this space. We built these walls out of recycled sharecropper cabin wood. This is a table made out of waste Alabama cedar. This is what it looks like now. And here it is inside. So the total cost of this was about $8,000 we raised on Kickstarter. $6,000 was for the heating air conditioning system. We came in second in the James Beard Awards for restaurant design, all with a super low budget, but a lot of ingenuity and design. And now we bake pies. It's a fully serviced restaurant. And it serves as the community hub in this community that was very distressed. So we have, open mic nights, ballroom dancing lessons, business incubation. So the lesson is we thought wrong at the beginning. This girl was into pie, and it led through this process to Pie Lab in rural Alabama that's really transforming the Main Street now. Another principle is making stuff, and I don't need to say this to designers as much as a business audience, but there's a lot of learning that comes from actually getting your hands dirty and making things, right? So you can sit around in a room forever just cycling ideas around and around. So this is another project we did at Project M in Alabama. We're trying to get young people in America to use bikes for everyday transportation, much like you see around here. So we thought wrong about it, and invented this company called Nada. So Nada was not a normal bike company, but it was a movement masquerading as a company. So you paid $100, you got your photo on the homepage, and your membership card was a raw steel bike frame, right? So then it was all about how you built it up, and so this is two different examples of that. So there was a whole learning, and we felt that people would feel differently about the bicycle if they built it up, and it didn't have any logos or anything like that. We ordered 120 frames, sold out of those, and it was ready to order another shipment from Taiwan, and we started thinking, that's crazy, to have this thing about getting on bikes and then ship these things from Taiwan. So I heard about this guy, his name's Marty Odlin, who was making bikes out of bamboo in Brooklyn. He came down to Alabama because we noticed there was this bamboo growing right near Pi Lab. Helped us figure out how to harvest it and flame treat it to get the moisture out. And then we took over a space right across from Pi Lab called Bike Lab and started making bamboo bikes. And they use this, it looks like electrical tape, but it's actually carbon fiber wrap to make those. Then we found out that Alabama is uniquely suited to grow bamboo at scale. So we invented this brand. Brian Jones also worked on this, called Alabamboo. So we're trying to connect the growing of bamboo to Alabama, the state, like Florida oranges or Maine lobsters or something like that. And then we had a group that came down, built their bikes, and rode them all the way to San Francisco to promote that project. We started working with an industrial design professor who was thinking there's a better way than just using the raw bamboo, and he invented this hex tube that uses carbon fiber in the middle of it and then has this hexagonal shape to it. So the tubes can be lighter and stronger, but it also gives us a uniform shape so that we can connect it without the wrapping on the sides. This is our latest prototype of that called the Semester Bicycle, which I'm excited about. And here's kind of a crazy folding take-apart bike. So you can see how the making, by just starting doing this, informed the process, and we never in a million years thought we'd end up there. This is another really important point. And what you can see in organizations and individuals is this resistance to doing new things out of fear. I'm going to look stupid. I'm going to fail. I'll get fired, right? So that it's a real barrier to moving forward. And we like to frame it as, let's just make some small bets, right? Let's just see how that goes.
Drop a stone in a bucket, and the ripples radiate out. In a big enough bucket, this expansion of energy seems endless, until those ripples hit the edge of the bucket. Then, in an instant, all that energy is moving in the exact opposite direction. We have hit the edge. The planet is finite. What was once frugal is now wasteful. What was once business as usual must become business as unusual. My name is Alex Boguski, and I've spent most of my life building brands. I got good enough at it that the biggest corporations in the world asked me to shape their brands. Honestly, I loved it. But a couple of years ago, I started to notice that the rules of business were suddenly changing, almost running in reverse. So I left my agency to get down to the business of imagining a future. I partnered with a friend, Rob Shuham, and my wife, Hannah, and we started the Fearless Cottage to explore the potential for a new agreement between consumers and corporations. An agreement that more fully empowered the largest and most powerful economic force in the world, the consumer. We must have struck a chord because thousands of people came forward asking how they could get involved, but we were stuck talking about the problem. Modern brands are worth billions of dollars, representing up to half of the company's total value. But even the most progressive companies can't share that value. The benefit of brand value only accrues to the company itself, not to society, not to the environment, and not to generations of the future. Why? What would happen if a brand could be shared just like any other asset? So we had to ask ourselves, what would you do if you could do anything? The answer to that question created Common. Common will unlock that value. Common is 1 part community, 1 part business incubator, and 1 part collaborative brand. Common is designed to bring people together, unleashing their creativity to rapidly prototype and launch hundreds of mutually supportive businesses, and doing all this under a shared brand. A brand that's community-owned and community-directed, offering huge brand value to the small social entrepreneur. Someday soon, a startup social venture in some far-off corner of the world will be able to launch their business with the immediate global awareness of a brand that represents a shared purpose, shared goals, shared means, and shared values. A single brand encompassing products, businesses, and the ideals of its community. Common may be the first collaborative mark, but in the spirit of collaboration, we hope it's just the first of many.
So Common is Alex and my small bet on reinventing capitalism. So going from disposability, secrecy, competition, and the idea of shareholder value in the individual to sustainability, transparency, collaboration, community. So embed capitalism with these core values and go from a trademark to a collaborative mark and offer this brand to everyone. So this is early stage, but stay tuned for Common. The last one is move fast. And the good example of that is my friend Emily Pillaton, who started something called Project H, completely unrelated. And she started a program, a design-build program in rural North Carolina. And here's a little film.
One thing that we overheard from one of the town councilmen was about reviving the farmers market.
The idea of building something that's going to be used by our community and all, it's a little bit crazy. We're only high school students. It's gorgeous. It's amazing.
The farmers market is the beginning. If it wasn't for the farmers market, I would still be dreaming about doing what I do now.
Constraint really breeds ingenuity, I think, and that's what we're here for.
So I'll leave with the message of go forth, right? That we all have the power of being ingenious and coming up with solutions and narrowing that ingenuity gap to create a sustainable future for everybody. So thank you very much.